What is up? If only I knew what was up. So many things could be up that I don't even know. So many things. This looks complicated. What does it do? It's an adult toy driver shim. It is not the actual driver, but it's the thing that allows your driver to drive the driving device. Too much mediocrity? What? Where has been the mediocrity? That one could have been complicated, and it was less than 5 minutes. GG's. It looked like people have ego to sell. You mean in programming channels or in channels generally? I am very tired of people asking me about Braid Anniversary Edition. It's my fault because we're not done with it yet, and that is always my fault, but please stop asking. We'll say things about it when it's time to say things about it. Like, I just have a lot of fucking work to do, okay? That's the status. Okay. It's good that people are looking forward to it, of course, but it's not done yet. It's not done yet. Programming is fine most of the time. Oh, so you're talking about gaming channels or like hot tub channels or what? Okay. So I kind of wanted to look at the how-tos. I did enough stuff to like make the how-tos work again with the new things that we were doing yesterday on stream. But now I want to make sure they're actually reasonable. Gosh, just a comment. Okay. So what do we do here? We have message loop, type checked message. That's what we changed. And let's just say all. I think I did this in another one of them, but anyway, let's do that. So okay, so it says what things have been type checked. That's great. Okay, simple program, easy peasy. 460. For type check. Oh, I already tidied this one up a bit. So we say for all the structs, just note the struct. Okay. Let's just make sure that runs. Detected player, door key, blah, 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 blah. Filled out the things. Excellent. 470. Type checked. No, yeah, I already sort of commented this a little bit further. Yeah, I mean, that's a very simple demo as well. 480 custom checks. Did we compile the 470? Yeah. Okay, so 480. Look at all these dang comments. Type checked. Okay, here we always want type checked messages. Oh yeah, this one I edited a little bit. This is the MISRA C that you need to write your home entertainment appliances in. Okay, so we check all the declarations. We make sure things are okay. Over all sub-expressions, we check for binary operators, procedure calls, adding them to the call graph. Okay. This is a little bit questionable. TC message over code dot, why is it called code? Code dot procedure bodies, and look in there. But we already had structured this loop. We already had structured this loop so that we were iterating over every expression of everything. So we just post filter here to check for procedure body. Any imperative procedure call must be located inside a procedure body. Okay, add to MISRA call graph if it's a declaration. etc. Okay. And then I think this is fine, really. Add to Misra call graph post check. Adding main to print, main to print, main to print, main to print. Math stuff factorial, math stuff print, math stuff Sierpinski curve. And there should be something in here that we can uncomment for an error. Like, okay, this is too many levels of indirection. Error, Misra check failure. Declaration of objects should contain no more than 2 levels of pointer indirection. Okay, great. Misra check failure. Floating point expressions shall not be tested for equality or inequality. Okay, that's it's a little bit too serious. Okay, so we have a recursive factorial and an iterative factorial. The recursive one is illegal according to Misra C. So there we go. Functions shall not call themselves either directly or indirectly. Great. And then this one is indirectly. This is like, well, I guess Sierp A calls Sierp A, but Sierp D, Sierp D, Sierp A, Sierp D, Sierp C, Sierp C, B, B, C. Yeah, so it would catch either one. Anyway, we're just making sure this didn't all break. When modifying the ask, do I think about the code I would write to get the desired result, or do I think about the result and shape of the tree? I don't understand the question. I think about, I mean, it's a program, right? So I want to make the program that does what I want the program to do. Could the witness work with ray tracing? I wouldn't turn on the weird NVIDIA ray tracing. That would probably wreck the game. I could see doing a custom ray tracing engine for it in a future release. Do the for loops give index? Yes, they do. Okay. That's great. Okay, we've successfully commented everything else out. Is that all the things? 490. There's a 490. Okay. Type checked declarations. Question is, should this be only declarations, or should it be all, or what should it be? I guess it's fine for this just to be declarations. All we're really doing is we're printing some stuff for most of them, and then we want apple and banana. Banana, banana. Banana, banana. Okay, I think this is good. I think I think we have reviewed the metaprogramming examples. Boom. I really should have run it on all the tests. Bam. Glad you liked The Witness. We worked very hard on that game. Always like it when people appreciate it. My code has broke the law. Well, that's great. Okay. So I could ship this beta now to the people. We shipped a beta yesterday. We could ship another. We'll probably ship another beta tonight. The question is, how much more do I want to put in this beta? What are my thoughts on SDL2? Why? I don't care. What? What does that have to do with anything? Did I ever try keeping a log like Carmax.plan? No, not really. I might have done something like that for a very short period of time, but not really. Not that I remember. Is Insobot a custom bot made for me? No, I have nothing to do with Insobot. That is somebody else's. What do I think of the inevitable heat death of the universe? I think that that is not going to happen. Okay. So I'm thinking about, do I want to do more of an example of the program print module? Because I'm pretty sure we are not necessarily testing it very well right now. Do I want to fix this frickin' bug that I saw? That one was scary. And then this one I think is for after the beta. So these are sort of the two things that I'm looking at. Probably doing. And the thing is, if I add an example to program print that sort of makes it not be a single file module anymore, I'm not sure how much I like that. I kind of, maybe I should try making it a single file module. I don't know where to come down on this. All right, so this is a difficult philosophical thing. So coming from the C++ world, where there are large ass libraries that are huge and not only a pain in the butt to compile successfully, but a pain in the butt to use in your program, right? We have this like single file module. So for example, like Sean Barrett's headers in C and similar things that are very good for C++, right? Because the fact that they're single file gets around all the include file problems and so forth. And it also just means that they're lightweight and easy to use, which is very good. Now, in this language, we don't tend to have all the friction around, including things. We don't include things. We do a different thing, and that makes things cleaner. And so we don't tend to have these kind of problems like you have in C++ or even C. But single file modules are still probably pretty good because all things being equal, less amounts of code are better. And it is probably good to encourage people to keep things light, right? However, the thing about a single file module is it's not going to be very clean to like have test code in there and example code and all that stuff, whereas I don't think there should be a huge amount of that stuff that's bloated and whatever. I think for most modules, you should have just a simple example program that you could just copy and start with and modify to do whatever you want, right? That's way better than most documentation. So maybe I'm leaning away from single file modules being so important for that reason, because I want there to be like a separate file that's just the example. Now that said, we could pack the example into here with, in here strings or something, but that's less nice, and it doesn't give you like a fully encapsulated separate file that you could just start with. Single file is a nice unit of distribution, not of development. I don't know that that matters very much for what I'm talking about. I need to read about the many worlds interpretation and why that doesn't violate energy conservation. Energy conservation is only for observables. So like if you look at Feynman diagrams, there are particles that go infinitely fast, for example, or faster than the speed of light, but it doesn't matter because they're not observable. Like there's just stuff like that. Also, okay, the thing about many worlds is that the metaphor that people use for it is inherently flawed. People have this picture of like, there's a world and then it splits into two worlds when there's a decision or a random event. That's a bad picture. That's a bad picture. What you should imagine is that there's this volumetric state space of an infinite number of worlds, and you're some point in there. And then based on the outcome of some decision, you move to a neighboring point, and there's like a manifold of neighboring points that you could move to. Okay? This whole like splitting universe thing is bullshit. It's a bad visual, and it's one reason why many people don't believe many worlds who maybe possibly could otherwise. Does the beta lock down a certain core feature set? I don't care. The examples could or should be extrinsic to the single file import. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but like, it doesn't totally matter. couldn't you generate the module boiler? This is not a boilerplate kind of place. What module boilerplate? What do you even mean? Something like a module of useful single file libraries with example code. Then you can download the single files as you need them. What? Why would I have two versions of the module? Is that sounds like, no, like adding more things adds more things. We don't want to add more things. What do I think of mathematicians trying to come up with a theory of everything? Well, somebody's got to do it. The single files don't have the examples, the module. Now there's a module and a single file. That's more things. I don't want more things. More things is more complicated, and I'm fucking boiling over my head with how goddamn complicated computers are. It's way too much bullshit. Get rid of 95% of it. And that's what I'm trying to do here with this project. So adding more variations of different things, especially that can be out of sync with each other, is like exactly not where I want to go. Sorry if I sound very annoyed about that, but like, God damn it, dude. Computers are such a mess. PBS Spacetime did a recent video talking about that exact misconception regarding many worlds. That's good. I tried to watch one of their videos and I couldn't do it. It was way too pink, as the subgeniuses would have said back in the day. Is the von Neumann architecture outdated? No, obviously not. What you're saying is you can have the single file simplicity and easy distribution. Then if you want the added complexity of example programs and documentation, you can just put it in a folder that has those things with the single file. No, because now there's two versions of the module that people have to think about and that exist and that have to be maintained. That's strictly more complicated than just having one. That like completely is not good. I don't think. I don't know. I mean, if you imagine there being some global convention of that, but there already sort of is. So we still haven't frickin' done this part, but part of the plan is that modules get copied into your program's local, I don't know what to call it, local modules folder. This doesn't happen yet, but it's supposed to. And then you can delete stuff that you don't want, right? But that's sort of more of a manual process right now. You could imagine making that less of a manual process, but I don't like the idea of there being a tool chain in there, really. You may have finally fixed your RSI. Well, that's good. Good. Single file module could have an API that could generate the examples. That's even more complicated than just having the examples. When can you see some open source? Donate $1 million to my PayPal, and I'll release some open source. I like header files because it means you don't have to recompile everything. Citation needed on that one. $100 billion? Well, for $100 billion, I'll release even more open source. Yeah, I am like Casey. I am frustrated with the whole internet thing of everybody wanting very low quality things for free. You know, it's gotten us to a bad place. The way Rust does it, where every Rust project kind of has to have a cargo.toml and specific directory structure, is annoying. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Rust way of doing things. Um, but I do kind of want to leave it. So here's the thing. The C model of using libraries is actually not that bad in certain ways. Parts of it are really bad, like the compiled binary part of it is really bad. Uh, well, in modern operating systems where they've like destroyed compatibility of all that stuff. But the part of it that's good actually is like, look, I just download the thing and I put it in my source tree. Like that part is actually way better than like what the web's dudes do all day. Um, that said, the part that's annoying is like maybe it's a little bit too hard to download things and put them in your source tree, right? So maybe you want a centralized repository for that part, maybe not. I mean, centralized is maybe not the right word. Um, maybe you want some repositories for things. Um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. But um, like taking it too structured kind of doesn't allow people to innovate, right? Like you can do a meta program that does anything. So your meta program could like go download packages for you if you want or whatever. And if we just let people do whatever they want, then they can converge on something that, well, knowing the internet, they'll converge on something terrible, but still it allows people to do what they want. Cargo is an absolute joy compared to C++. I don't know. I mean, I've used programming languages with package managers since Perl, right in the 90s, and it's fine. But it's not actually for people who do serious work. It doesn't actually matter that much because when you're working on a large project for years, you're probably not downloading that many packages relative to how much work you're doing, right? Like, so I think of that as having more importance the more you have a lot of people writing a lot of trivial programs that don't do very much, which I think is not a good model. What's my taking on dynamic linking? I think dynamic linking is really dumb most of the time. There's specific reasons to do it, but most of the time you shouldn't do it. As illustrated by Linux. This has resulted in situations where bugs keep rolling in because a library that was pulled in has been out of date for like a year. But like that doesn't matter. That's not an argument against it. Because look, you're just saying, oh, well, they haven't done the work of updating this library to a new version. Which is like, okay, but that's just a trade-off, right? If they were forced every build to update libraries to new versions, which by the way, you don't want when you have like customers, right? Then you had to put in that work and there's opportunity cost, right? That means you wouldn't have been able to do some other work, right? So like allowing libraries to get old in the source tree means that they were able to get other things done that they wouldn't have been able to get done had they been forced to be maintaining those things all the time. Like, do not underestimate how important that is. I'm tired of people asking me about IDEs. I'm not going to answer questions about IDEs anymore. I think IDEs are stupid. What I'm going to say about IDEs is that if you insist on staying in your current paradigm, then you're never going to have a better thing because you're just doing the same thing over and over again, right? To advance, you have to not keep doing the same old shit. Visual Studio's IDE helps keep things organized. Okay, that's a new one. That's a new one. Why? Because there's a little folder icon where there's things inside the folder icon. Guess what? Your file system already has that. Now you've got two organizers that disagree with each other. Is Emacs an IDE? It could probably be a pretty bad IDE if you turn on enough stuff, but I don't use it that way. I just use it as an editor. Okay. So I guess I decided that I'm going to make program print not be a single file module. And I might regret that later, but if I regret it, I could always roll it back or something. Oh, I can't do that. Okay. Let me go back to the changelog. Okay, so we're doing this. Not advocating for IDEs, just curious how you'll demonstrate the idea that not using IDE can be better than using it. I mean, you'll see. What has my experience been like funding games? I mean, it's either good or bad depending on what you fund and how good it is, how good the developer is. With IDEs, do I dislike the GUI build BS? I dislike everything about them. They're extremely mediocre. They're not made for people who know how to program. They don't actually help me with anything that I want to do. And they, in fact, just add additional barriers to what I want to do. So, why should I use them? It's like almost everything about a modern IDE is bad. Right? The one thing that was good in Visual Studio for a while was the ability to right click and go to definition, right? But now, I mean, I still use that sometimes, but now it's so slow and annoying and pops up so much shit on the screen all the time. I don't even want to use that. It's very uncomfortable and awkward. What about asked aware code assist stuff, struct members, variable renaming? I mean, I guess that's fine. I don't find myself really wanting to do that kind of thing for a very large percentage of the time. And when I do, I just rename variables with search and replace in Emacs, and it's not quite as good as a totally IDE aware thing or AST aware thing, but it's almost as good. And it doesn't have any of the downsides. So it's kind of fine. For asked aware code assist stuff, I'm not really sure what you mean there. That's useful, I mean, other than gimmicks. Blocking your input for a single letter autocomplete. Oh, yeah. While developing 500 plus embedded Postgres procedures in a large project, and they don't fit into folders files. This is already sounding, what? How does something not fit into a folder or file? You find it very difficult to navigate between procedures and recompiling them into the database schema without IDE. Well, I mean, it sounds like things are just set up in a way that's very hard to deal with. Don't do that. I don't know what you mean by the procedures not fitting in a file. That doesn't make sense to me. VS Code is pretty good. No, it's not. No, it's not. People who probably saw the Dion demo and didn't think beyond the surface. Well, they didn't show anything beyond the surface. So GG's. If they're thinking beyond the surface, they need to show that. Procedures are stored inside database schema. They are not files and folders. Okay. So dump them to files so that you can fucking use regular tools. Like, that just sounds like an awful working environment. Like, this is something that happens in the history of computers as people create an awful working environment and then they give you tools to try to deal with the awful working environment. But like, just don't make the environment awful, you know? Like, why would you not have these procedures locally cached in files? Like, I would want the text in the files, and then I would want, as a standard thing, to make sure that everything is clean and up to date, force push all those procedures and override whatever's in the database right now, right? I tried using 4Coder a long time ago. I found it completely unusable and I gave up in like 10 minutes. It did approximately 0 of what I consider to be the actual hard part of an editor. That might have changed since then. But like, it looked like the equivalent of any open source thing where it's like, patch is welcome. And by the way, you have to submit all the patches to make it do what you want it to do, right? It did not change. All right, well, GG's. All right. So this program print, I don't even know how well it's going to compile. Let's make modules. Program print. We're going to start with a very simple example. We're going to do nothing. All right. Is there a FAQ? No, there is not a FAQ. Random question, Emacs or Vim? Dude, anybody who asks that question doesn't even know that Vim is one of many variants of VI. Like, you're asking Emacs or VI, but you don't even know that, so you're saying Vim. Like, people think Vim is like a thing. It's like, oh my God. Ed is the standard editor. Okay. Like the fact that people say Emacs or Vim is just so crazy. It's like saying, what is it like saying? It's like saying, do you like playing first-person shooters or Persona 3 expansion pack 2? They might be relatively new to programming. Yeah, but I've heard people ask that a lot. Although I guess Vim is pretty old at this point. I guess it's from 91. I didn't realize it was that old. But yeah. Okay. So I don't know how I let you guys pull me down into the bullshit, but you did somehow. So I'm going to climb out and just do some things. Maybe I'll shut off the stream and just work in fucking peace. I guess String Builder is not a module. All right. Great. So let's go to here and we'll just do this, right? Okay. For this workspace, okay. And for that workspace, actually, okay, wait. Do this up here. Okay, so we go target program, we begin intercept, we make target. Get build option. message loop. Boom. Great. Doesn't do anything, as you would expect. Okay. So the message loop is going to do what? It is going to say, it's going to look at the messages. It's going to do that. And I guess we're just going to do type checkeds. And so the question here is what to do exactly. Whoops. Whoopsie. All right. So now we start doing actual things. So we have program print. And I could just call print declaration. Okay, so okay, so now we're at least calling build. Oh, we actually don't okay. Oh, we're not What are we doing? Complete. Oh, we're not breaking on complete. There we go. So now to use program print, we'll say print declaration, or just program print receive message. Oh, yeah. Kind is not a member of message. There we go. So now, so I knew, because I did a bunch of editing of program print and realized like, oh, this code probably rotted because we're not testing it. So now we're into the part that I wanted to get to, which is a bunch of this stuff is going to be broken. So for example, Incomplete expression. Interesting. So we're not handling some stuff. Fusel 42 main, whatever. We're not, we didn't draw the braces for some reason. Okay. Interesting that we didn't do that. All right, incomplete expression dot kind. Well, how are we getting there? Oh my God. Emacs. Dude, I hate this. It's just gonna fucking keep doing this. Text mode. Fuck you. Okay, so we're just going to see what that does. Undeclared identifier print. Okay, so we're not handling import. We're not handling type definition. Let's see. Look at all these things. Wow. Okay, so these struct fields, the default values are not correct always when they're floating point values. That's interesting. But note that, like, this isn't like formatted nicely and stuff, but you can see that we're printing out the things. I don't like this whole like printing argument lists has the commas in the wrong place. We're gonna fix these. We're gonna fix these. Okay. Print arguments decals. So we supposedly print a comma if it index is greater than 0, which is correct. I want my highlighting back. So what's the deal there? I kind of don't know. I kind of feel like so procedure header. Lol. That was for arguments supplied to functions, which is why. And honestly, I'm not sure why we aren't just doing this. Who the hell did this? Okay, so we're just going to call print declaration here. So I'll go back to pp print. And now we have better looking declaration. Better looking declarations. We're not printing semicolons. We're not doing lots of things. Yeah, the default value not printing correctly when it's a float is bad. Console support. Are there any vendor hoops to jump through? Of course. None of the major console vendors will allow me to even stream working on their thing, or none of the ones that I've asked. So like, that is a thing right there. I would do that if I could. Yeah. Okay, what? Incomplete expression import. Let's fix that. Fuck. It's like, God damn it, dude. Okay. For an import, we're going to say append builder import. What is it? Expression. I kind of print string literal. to builder. Right. And then if import.module parameters call, and then if import.program parameters call, we need to do some things in these cases. So we want to print procedure call arguments. Print arguments. I don't know what the true is. Do parens. Aha. Program parameters call. And then okay. Well, we didn't do any imports here, which is interesting. Who did? Not there. So we're not like drawing the arrow on the procedure. That's pretty weird. And we're not drawing a semicolon. And we're not drawing the body. I think it's probably because we're just doing the headers. I don't know why we're doing all of this. Yeah, so here we should do print declaration. If c.returns, we'll do all this. Okay. The reason I did that is because we want this. Okay. So like, what am I doing? Although maybe, maybe that's not the right play. So now, yeah, we don't frickin' print anything right now. Great. Okay, so now we found a lot more operators and stuff that we don't know, which is cool. It means we're probably doing things. Here we go. So now we're outputting actual code of the bodies and so forths. Builder a space and then do that. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what's the deal there. Okay. We have a defer here that we don't know what to do with. Let's look for those. Operator 348. We'll deal with that in a bit. We're looking for statements. Defer and using and compound declaration. See, since the last time I actually tried this code out, we changed the language a little bit and added some stuff. So, yeah. Do we support interpolated strings? No, I think interpolated strings are bad. Okay. 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 Oh, the fuck is wrong with this editor? All right. Block, not define. D dot. Really? Okay. If it's an alignment expression. Interesting. Is our alignment expression wrong? No checkings. So we can't even print it. That tells me it's probably corrupted. We will look at that separately. We'll comment it out for now. Still dead. Print block, print block, print block, print. Really? But that code was already there. An ident. Let's just debuggerify this. Oh, actually, that's not going to be good. It's not going to be good necessarily. What did I do? It's going down like several blocks deep. 564, it's a case statement to if statement. To an identifier, but then it kind of dies. It's a compound declaration. So why are we oh, because yeah. Okay, I get it. I get it. We're just going to comment that out for now as well. Really? Really? We're just, everything's gone there. How? Oh, declaration properties is not set. That'll do it. Okay, so we'll handle that separately. So we need operator 348, but let's go here. We're getting better. We still need floats. But look at all this code that we're printing out. This is like almost better than Emacs can format it. Almost. Okay, so operator 348. I don't really know. That's like something way out here. It's 11, 12, 13 more. array subscript. Really? Wait, what? How is that? Append operator. Oh, because wait, what? How are we getting there? You can't have a unary array subscript. And we shouldn't get there. Oh, maybe we have it wrong. I bet. Okay. 348. 348. Okay. There we go. Do we have an array subscript? Well, anyway. Okay, let's fix this floating point problem. Literal. Print literal. If it's a float, why isn't that working? We're going to put a cowabunga in front of every single float. It doesn't think those are floats for default values, or we're not calling print literal, which is probably what's happening. Members constant storage struct print block. That'd be in print declaration. So if we have expression, we say print expression. Okay. So it is going to literal printing. Okay, let's print literal. Actually, that should be... Okay, we might have the incorrect definitions for those flags now. Or they're just set to 0. So that's wrong. We must correct this. It is important. How's it going, everybody? What am I doing? I am programming. Is there a way to automatically coerce strings to a null terminated pointer to U8 String literals automatically coerce. If it's not a literal and it requires storage, you call a function explicitly. Or, okay, or if you happen to know that it's a compiler generated string, so if it's like a file name or, you know, like an identifier of a function or something, or a struct member name, those always have zeros, so you can just dereference the data pointer of the string. Okay. So, why are numeric flags not set? Okay, before I forget, we'll say added output for several okay. I spilled my water. I spilled my water. All right. So okay. Well, first let's check this. So numeric flags is there. So hopefully that's the same size. Value type. What is that? Okay. This is probably fine. And then numeric flags. So either I'm not setting numeric flags or this positioning is off. I claim to be setting numeric flags. Okay. values has new string float 64, pointer literal info. I mean, this should be size of string. Really, it should be that. This should also be size of string. So I could just like print the offsets. Let's find out if the numeric flags themselves are still correct. Numeric flags. Okay, is a number hex float 64 binary minus, okay, it's good enough for now. So they must be in the wrong place. They must be in the wrong place. So when we do program print, we're going to say offset is cast pointer to U8 literal dot numeric flags I'm just putting more parentheses than I need just to be very clear. Okay, so we're going to print that offset, and then we're going to do it here. Literal. This is overkill because we only need to print it once, but okay. Boom. Boom. Debug. Okay. This says offset 164. That's pretty far, honestly. Jeez. Offset 72. Why is it so different? Oh, we actually don't want the source. Never mind. We want the dest. It's not called dest. What's it called? Is it called result? It's called result. Okay. 80. Oh, still not the same. So they're 8 bytes off from each other for some reason. Is the print module here just a beta demo? Is it more of a core module? I mean, whatever the fuck. I don't care. like, I don't know why you would necessarily want to print things back exactly. So it's more like a demonstration of capability, I guess. Like, sorry if I seem irritated about some of these questions, but I get tired of people asking me, like, when people inquire from you all the time why you're doing what you're doing, it just gets tiring. Now, I know that's the whole reason that you stream, is to show people what you're doing, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It was a legit question, I guess. Isn't it kind of inconvenient to have to put the percent where you want a variable to be printed, then scroll over the end of the print function and add it to the last argument? Fuck off. You can tell I'm annoyed at questions today. Sure, that is an aspect of that. Now, why don't you do the cost benefit analysis of what are the benefits of doing it the way that I did it? Can you think of any benefits of doing it the way that I did it? If you can't, then maybe I made a terrible decision and it's so bad. But maybe you could think about it. And instead of just looking at the one thing that you perceive to be a cost, you could look for benefits. Yeah, part of it is I keep getting the same questions all the time, and it gets to me. I don't know. I don't know. I wish someone would ask a really forward-thinking, amazing question. Maybe ignore. Does anyone have some interesting technical questions to ask that are good? Okay. So I don't really know why these don't match. So what I could do, I suspect it's because of that field. So what I could do is change this to value type in both places. See what happens there. So now it's 48 there. And 48 there. Yeah, so they think that the value type is a different size. And I'm a little bit stumped because it's 24 in one place and 32 in another place when I think it should be 16. That is very weird. All right. So there, we're going to say size Anyway, okay, so I want to print the size in the C++ version as well. Where is it? My brain's starting to get tired again. I haven't even been streaming that long. So yeah, we're gonna go size is size of result value type. Whoops, we gotta rebuild the compiler. Size 2. What? Oh, wait, it's not value type that... Wait. Okay, that's thing number one. I meant to take the offset of values, not the offset of value type. So let's do that, and the size of value. Okay, that also explains why it was bigger, because this would take up 8 bytes with padding. All right, back the bus up. This is values. And I was like, why is it 2? It's because that's just a 16-bit. Okay, so we go there. And values. They do not share our values. Okay. Oh, we got to rebuild. Offset 56, size 24. That is bigger than I think it should be. I don't know why it's 24. The one we're going to think it's 16. And that's the problem. So why does the game think it's 24? Or would the compiler think it's 24? Is it because one of the members is bigger than I think? New string, float 64. It's got to be pointer literal info. Let me just print the size of pointer literal info. That is 24. So I missed that. I was looking specifically at that. Oh, duh. It's obviously 24. 8, 16, and then one of these. I don't know, like, that just went through my brain. And I was looking specifically at that, and I was like, oh, it's 16. No, it's not. That is not 16 bytes. Okay, so that's our problem. Here, see, we make it a pointer here. See, this is a pointer for consistency. This like isn't. It probably should be. Instead of doing this, I should probably make pointer literal info a pointer. Okay, before we do that, actually we'll do this. I'm going to make that a separate thing. Because you know what? We're pretty far on this thing. And, all right. Hey, look, our numbers are coming out now. Where's format float? Yeah. They're -1s and stuff. Okay, so let me get rid of this offset, whatever. Yeah, see our numeric flags are coming out. That's great. Program print. So this offset and size is going away. And compound declaration is something that we're going to look at later. Now, you know what? There's a few things in here we don't want to get rid of. I just want to get rid of the no check-ins because I'm thinking about checking in. Okay, polymorph, types block, we're not caring about. Arguments, we already do. Returns, we already do. This stuff, we want to do. Okay. So we want that. Print the modified directives. And then the block. Okay, let's take this out of the compiler for now that we figured this out. Okay. All right. So we've got our minus ones, we've got our things. This is all much better. All much better. In our defer, we don't want to... oh. We do a double semicolon in that case. Oops, we'll take care of that some other time. Doesn't affect compilability. Okay, this is way, way better than it was an hour ago, which is always good. Some things are still real bad, like some of that indentation. But again, that's a whole other time. Like right now, the goal is just to round trip the code. So the compound declaration is the only thing that I kind of want to get to work. Let me see if that doesn't crash us. It does. Wow. Is this just garbage? It could be misaligned like we just had. Yeah, it's CD, 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 blah, blah. That's totally messed up. So I bet it just doesn't even match. Yeah, this is not scope entry. This is node. Let's try that. Hey, okay. Now that might mean that the rest of it also, like this part. Hey, great. Great, okay. So I think it'll just tag that incomplete. I think that's all our no check-ins. So what I can do is I can check in. We're gonna test on everything. We're gonna add this program to the tests. Modules, program print, examples, example. And there we go. Okay. Boom. Someone's talking about concave solid. What's the fastest way to determine if a vertex is inside a concave 3D solid? When you say fastest way, that depends on a lot of things, right? So for example, if your solid doesn't change very much, but you have many queries about whether something is inside, then I would say maybe build a BSP tree for that solid and do the queries. If it's one query per solid, I don't know, maybe still BSP tree, I don't know. Okay, so this is good news that we did our things. Make sure we can still do Sokoban. Great, wonderful. Commit. Okay, so now it's almost time to ship the value to the people. But I want to fix this pointer literal info thing in the compiler. So hopefully this is not too painful. Let's just see what breaks. Yeah, so we just tend to do pointer literal info. Okay, and then do this. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, a ding, a ding, a dang, a ding dong. Could do that first. Literal. Okay. All right. Pointer literal type. Info A. There's not much more you can say than just test all the planes. I mean, you could build a BSP tree out of planes. You don't have to have vertices. Like a BSP tree is just planes. Okay. And in fact, a plane soup doesn't uniquely define a solid. So you would like, if your solid was being defined by planes, they kind of have to be arranged in a way that already lets you query the points. Do you know what I'm saying? Because otherwise You can't just have a bunch of planes and say this is a concave solid. If it's a convex solid, you can, because there's only one convex solid with that set of planes. But if it's a concave solid, you need to know how to know what the concavity is. Okay? And like a plane soup doesn't tell you that, I don't think. So like the data structure almost has to be queryable by virtue of that it tells you how things are. Okay. Make pointer literal. Oh, what even am I looking at? 460. Oh, yes. Okay, parser. Dang it. So much of the same frickin' thing. You set the solid and set the points, but as soon as the plot is changed, you have to reevaluate the situation. But what changes? The solid or the points? Or both? Or both. Anyway. Any of them. Okay, well, like again, this is not a well-defined, like what you're saying is way too vague to give a good recommendation, because it's like, how detailed is the solid? How many points are there? Are the points, are they on a regular grid? Are you generating them coherently? Are they input points that are like a point soup that you don't know what order they're in? Like, all of these things matter when you're talking about wanting to do things fast. Like, how many points? How detailed is the solid? A 100 faces? How many points? $500. 5,000. The answer is it doesn't matter how you do it. Your computer is so fast that any reasonably programmed thing will do this instantly. Just find a solution. I would probably try BSP because that's what I'm familiar with, but there probably are other ways to do it too. Yeah, like 5,000 points is just not that much. Unless you have to run it like a super high frame rate or whatever. You did ray tracing. Okay, that might be a little too slow. Like, unless you have a fast way to throw rays at the solid. You're looking for a better algorithm. I mean, okay, so if you did a ray tracing thing and the points are spatially coherent, you could do like beam tracing or something where, because there's a lot of coherency in ray tracing, right? If you trace a point and then you trace the neighboring point, it's got a high probability of the path being mostly the same, right? And you could take advantage of that. On the other hand, that's the same with BSP trees, though. And in fact, BSP trees are kind of ray tracing, to be honest, but a little different. I don't know. I would say BSP. It sounds like a BSP problem, if I'm being honest. The thing about a BSP tree is you could do something like, hey, I've got all my points and I've got a bounding sphere around all my points or something. Spheres tend to be pretty loose, but like imagine you've got a big bounding sphere and it's got all your points, and then you go to the root node in the BSP tree and then you see which points are on which side and you compute two new bounding spheres, right? And then you propagate those down the tree. So you can kind of do all the points at once with a BSP tree in a way that might not be obvious. We were looking for intersection with faces and counted the number of intersections. Yeah, I see. All right. Okay. Pointer literal type. could just call make pointer literal here. Ugh. Ah, this wants to do too many things. Dang it, dude. See, I really want to use this at this point because I'm doing this too many times. We could just see, like this, oh, this non-zero init data, that's not even, we don't even necessarily want that. Fuck. All right, here we go. And here we're going to say we're just going to call that okay. So we can say okay. 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 Oops. Oh, values dot. Okay. $11.41. C++. Thank you. Thank you, C++. Didn't realize there was so much pointer literal stuff. Now watch me change this back later on. That'll be hilarious. 989. Wait, what? Okay. Great. How is there so much pointer literal stuff? Jeez. Louise, I just put that in the past year. I mean, if the shape is defined with CSG, then you can tell if it's inside by looking at the CSG decomposition of the thing, right? Like if it's like a cube minus a cylinder and your point is inside the cylinder, then it's outside, right? Etc. Okay, well, we are appearing to compile everything. Well, let's not say that yet. Now maybe we will say that soon. Failed. Boom. Okay. Beta 35 crash. I bet we will assert if we run the debug compiler on there. So let's do that. I messed something up. Assert info. Copy struct literal to wait. Wait. What? What? We're making a pointer literal here. Okay. Hey, all right. Let's do debug tests. Boom, ba boom, boom, boom. You don't use cylinders, only a polygonal solid. Yeah, but that still helps you accelerate your query, right? Because you can do the containment test on the sub pieces of the CSG, which are probably much simpler, right? And then compute the result from that. And that's like way faster probably. Especially if it's all primitives that you define mathematically, right? Okay. Let's make sure we didn't break SOCOBAN. SOCOBAN. Boy, I just did some drudgery. But it's probably worth it. Reduced the size of literals in the compiler, small performance boost, and fixed code literal not correctly matching being incorrect being incorrect. Code literal dot numeric flags being incorrect, resulting in garbled decoding of literals sometimes. Okay. Cool. This is a good beta, hopefully, and it was done in a frickin' day. GG's. Actually, there's one more thing I want to do. Yeah, if you're starting with CSG and then you're making a shape, it's like, well, the CSG source is a very valuable source of information. Very valuable. Very valuable. Okay, I wanted to test or to check one more thing, which was actually I'm going to make some warm tea, but this thing, like, we were returning the wrong type. Like, we were assigning a return type that didn't even match, and it frickin' compiled. Like, I feel like there might be some contravariance thing happening. Maybe I don't care. Maybe I don't care. Let me warm up some tea. Any questions, on topic technical questions about what we've been doing? I'll try not to be annoyed at questions. I got annoyed at questions tonight. It's fine though. Sometimes when I'm tired, that's what happens. Long-term tired, not short-term tired. Just tired. Questions? Anyone? Anyone? What if you make a compiler driver that runs the compiler and then it can crash and pop up a dialog box instead of just printing internal compiler errors, a standard error like before? That sounds like a really good idea. Well, except the image page is also not working, so that's great. Here we go. Okay. So, do I care enough about this to work on it right now? No, the answer is no. The answer is we're gonna deliver the value to the people. Bump the version number for the beta. Boom. I'm gonna make the Linux build. Making copy. Making copies. What percent of the compiler do I think can be parallelized? Um, like pretty much almost 100% can be parallelized, as in put into parallel things that are running concurrently. The question is just how much does it end up getting tied up by synchronization between those parallel pieces? And I don't really know the answer to that. We're pretty far from being able to have a coherent picture of that. I think it's actually not too bad, but I don't know. I don't know. Like the biggest question is like around identifiers in namespaces, I think. But that's even that's a guess. So I'm running the tests on the Linux. It is going well. I'm a little tired today. I've just been working a lot. I kind of want a vacation. Um, and I have lots of stupid stuff coming up that I have to do. So I'm irritable lately, but things are going actually very well with the compiler. Um, so that's great. How's the new gun? I have not fired it or gotten ammo for it yet. So I don't know when that's going to happen. But it's cool. It's a little bit hard to get used to because switching barrels is a little bit awkward. Like you see this on YouTube whenever people do it. And I feel like it's the sort of thing where I get used to it and then it'll be easy, but it's very weird right now. I feel like version 2 they're going to have to work on that and make it less awkward. How many more years do I think OS on hardware has left before everybody moves to using terminals connected to cloud computers? Infinity time. Because terminals connected to cloud computers are going to be the first thing that goes down when we have a warm internet war with China, which will happen. Like that's unavoidable. Well, no, it's not unavoidable because something worse could happen first. I think there was an example of using program print to convert to Scheme. Could that be one of the examples? Yeah, I might re-resurrect that example. Program print is a little more fully featured than that thing was. But it's the same idea. And, you know, you could copy it and convert it to whatever kind of output you want. People let everything happen on the cloud and then wonder why someone else keeps all the money. Yep. Yep. Guys, cloud is a scam to do what you could do before, except that now you have a recurring bill instead of a one-time bill. That is what cloud means, is that now you pay service fees regularly for something that you used to pay for once. It's bad, but it seems inevitable. It's not inevitable if people stop being jackasses. Will program print allow you to change syntax between versions of language? The idea is that we would leverage some form of that, but probably one like this version of program print just like rewrites your whole program, and it doesn't have the full formatting info and stuff. You could imagine a version of it that only does select edits to existing files, and I think we would try that. Cloud is just Zoomers reinventing Boomer Unix timeshares. That's true as well. That is true as well. I mean, people do know that the X Windows system was originally designed to run over a network to a dumb terminal, right? Like, we had dumb X terminals at my college that like you didn't really have enough horsepower to run locally. Like, we used to do this shit. Do you have an opinion on replacing quaternionic systems with geometric algebra? I mean, if all you're doing is quaternions, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. When it matters is when you're thinking about a broader problem space. Reinventing the wheel with worse and worse resources? Yes, that is exactly what is happening. Why is my frickin' thing going? Oh, it's my laptop fan worrying even though the laptop is closed and nothing is happening, because it's probably running the compiler driver. Okay. All right. I am now going to deliver the value to the people. Let me momentarily go into darkness. We are doing Star Trek Into Darkness. We will send, uh-oh. Compiler build failed locally. for some reason. What? Cannot open file. We're going to have to look at that. New compiler beta. And we put the change log in there. And we will put the download link. Okay. Boom. This is value for the people. Okay, I have sent the beta. I will close my email so we don't dox anybody. And turn on the desktop. And I will start an entry for beta 73, which we don't even know what's going to be in there. That's not, I feel good about this. This was like sort of a drudgery day of annoying things, but like it checked something off the list that I had been wanting to do for a long time, which was the thing, the thing. Rejiggering the way the type check messages are to be less confusing. I think we'll probably end up changing them again a little bit more later, but maybe not too much more. And it'll definitely be more understandable until we figure out what the best final version is. All right. Okay. Boom. Imagine being one of the people. Well, there are about 104 people who can imagine being the people. Maybe 106. More than 100. Well, any questions, people? Any questions? Will I continue making games? I don't know. Will you be able to pay $1,000 plus to get into the beta? I don't know. I mean, the problem is, this is the sad truth of paying programmers. $1,000 just isn't that much unless we get $1,000 from a lot of people. So if we came up with some way to get $1,000 from a lot of people, we would probably do something like that. But if we don't, then we don't. Like, we need hundreds of people to give us $1,000 before it makes any impact at all in development plans. That's just the reality. What would I have predicted I'd be doing in 20 years? 20 years ago? I don't know. Some kind of video game thing. Someone told you compilers aren't a viable business, but selling services to hardware people is. Well, you know, I don't know. This person does GPU compilers, AI accelerator compilers, etc. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not doing this for the money reasons. I'm doing this because there's a massive, 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 massive inefficiency, and I'm trying to do something about it, right? So I'm not capturing any of that value. I mean, I'll probably be, capture some of the value a little bit, but I probably would not capture 99.999% of the value if this thing succeeds, right? But somebody has to do that. Otherwise, we're just fucked. Like, something like a Kickstarter with a minimum tier. I don't know. Like, Kickstarters top out at $5,000, which is not, like, you want to enable people who are rich or people who have corporate pocketbooks to do more than that. Yeah. But, I mean, for the amount, like, I've been working on this project for 7 years, no exaggeration, and made zero amount of money off it so far. Actually, not zero, because people come to the Twitch stream and we have Twitch subs. So we make, I don't know, we make probably about $6,000 a year off this compiler. It would be more if I programmed in a hot tub, I'm sure. Let's see. Let me go to the analytics. How do I do that? Streaming tools? No. Community? Stream manager? I don't know how to see the analytics. Activity? Roles manager? Settings? Partner, probably. No, it's not settings. Dude, oh, insights. That's, they couldn't call it something that you know what it is. Oh, look at all the revenue. That's how much in the last 30 days. Rolling in it. Rolling in it. Dude, I can't wait till Amazon takes away Prime subs. Everyone's going to be so sad. Currently on a quest to play every game I've ever recommended during my talks. They are good games. They are good games. If I moved to rural Iowa, I could live on that. I mean, that's probably true. But, you know, if I streamed full time, because I don't stream that much, right? If I did a landmark and streamed like 12 hours a day, we could probably raise this to at least 2x what it is, right? I could make $1,000 a month streaming. Twitch is dying due to hot tubs and gambling. How is it dying? Do you mean people are going somewhere else to stream those things because Twitch doesn't let them? I mean, I know Twitch allows hot tubs, so I don't understand. I do notice that Twitch had a lot of viewers today. There was a Counter-Strike final today. There were 150,000 people watching the main channel. Shroud had 50,000 viewers. So it's not exactly dying. Oh, big ad dollars are leaving. I will say that this channel gets a little bit fewer viewers and subs than it used to. We used to get around 220 subs, and now we have 170. But I think that happened when I switched usernames. So I think we just lost a bunch of people, and it's slowly going up. We were at like 140 to 150 for a while, and now we're at 170. So I think somehow, like I had assumed that when you change usernames, everything would switch over, but I think that doesn't totally happen. It was the gun stream. No, it was before that. It was before that. I think it's pretty lame what Twitch did to the doc. Took a while to realize I had a new channel. Yeah. Yep. I think that happened for a lot of people. But that's okay. Whoa, wait. We don't... thanks for the gifted subs. No need to do that, though. No need to do that. Would I recommend you quit your job and go back to school to pursue creating a game, even if the probabilities were 0.01% success and a 99.99% homelessness? Not really, because I don't think school is a very good place to learn to make a game. Unless you get... There are a small number of educational institutions that will do a good job of teaching you, but most of them will not. Most of them will not. Welcome to all the subs who now have subs. That's what happens when I show the dashboard. Yeah. Well, I could do what Landmark's doing. You guys know what Landmark's doing right now? He has a sub counter, and it starts at 0 out of 2,400, right? And when he gets 2,400 subs, he commits to doing a 24-hour stream and resets it. And he is currently right now in his 4th in a row 24-hour stream. The dude's nuts, right? And as long as people keep getting it up to 2,400, he keeps doing 24-hour streams. Let's take a look real fast.
So I thought you hit me twice, I would have died.
So he's at 16 out of 24. So he's going to have to do another 24-hour stream, no doubt, because there's 16 hours left. He's 8 hours into his stream. He looks very tired to me, man. He looks like he looks like he's been doing 4 24-hour streams in a row. Ludwig made a lot of money that way. I don't know who that is. What's been the return on investment in regards to indie fund? It's been pretty profitable. It's not a super high multiplier because the thesis of the fund is that we're not trying to make a ton of money with it. We're trying to help developers, but you know, like the fund is the most that the indie fund could ever make is 2x. We cap out at 2x, and not everything makes that, but we're way more than 1x and we're less than 2x. Actually, that's not 100% strictly true because sometimes we vary it by the individual deal, but in general, we get out of a deal at 2x and let the developer have the rest of the money. A month-long subathon. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. He's probably mentally damaged. Would I consider doing a Udemy course on game programming? No, why would I give Udemy all the money? And why would I let them screw up my class? I would just do a class if I wanted to do a class. What would I include in the class? I don't know, getting good. It would be about getting good. Slipways look like it probably profited fairly well. I think that's true. I haven't seen the final numbers, but Slipways seems like it did okay. Would I consider doing a Starcode Galaxy class in game programming? Not, I mean, in the near future, I have way too much happening, guys. So like 3 years from now, we'll talk about it. What do I think I'll be doing in 20 years? I will be being old. Well, unless someone comes out with some great biological rejuvenation therapies. Currently at a job where making a game would mean giving the company an irrevocable license to the full IP. Get a different job. Seriously. Did Steven's Sausage Roll give any inspiration for the next Sokoban style game? A little bit, but it's just a very different game from Steven's Sausage Roll. So the influence isn't very concrete or tangible, but there is some. Someone's about to donate like $1 billion to longevity research. Yeah, I heard that. I heard something like that in the grapevine. How's my experience funding game been? Mostly good, sometimes very frustrating. It's not a game developer job though, so what? Work somewhere that lets you do things on your own time. If I would choose, how old would I want to get? Very old. There's been 20 million donated to Sens. Okay. That's cool. Is there ever a point where I think I will be too old to program? I hope not. Or I just hope I get some good stuff done before then. Would more money help a lot or just somewhat, but not a lot? More money really would help a lot. Like if I could, okay. I don't know who specifically I would hire, right? But part of the problem that I have with hiring is, and I think most people doing high-end game stuff have this problem. Why would anyone, if somebody cares any reasonable about programming, right? They could go to Google and get paid $500,000 for doing basically nothing, right? Now, their skills will atrophy and they'll be sad because they won't be doing anything useful with their life, but they could go do that. Like, it's very easy to go to Google or Facebook and make $500,000 a year for being a lame-o butt who doesn't do anything, right? So as long as that's true, why would people take harder jobs where they actually have to work? And the answer is, well, those people have to be very intrinsically motivated, right? So right now I just have to find people who are intrinsically motivated enough that, you know, I don't know. But like if you had a ton of money to pay salaries that are better than Google level salaries, then that problem removes itself, right? But we can't do that right now. You can motivate with equity. I can't because we're not a company on an IPO track. So equity would not mean anything. And also for other reasons, we do a bonus pool model. We don't do a stock model. And the reason why is because when you give people stock, you're sort of promising that you will make that stock worth as much as possible, which means you're sort of promising that you're doing a standard commercial driven game company, right? Or whatever kind of company. And we make art games, we make weird stuff. And part of that is intentionally choosing to make that stuff make less money than something else, right? And so it's kind of, if you give people stock and then you start releasing artier and artier games, they can come and get mad at you and say, dude, what the fuck? My stock's not going to be worth anything, right? So I think it's better just to pay bonuses and to try to pay the highest bonuses possible. Which we should be having a decent amount of money coming in over the next couple of years. And so rather than growing the company with that, I think I want to just try paying people substantially higher bonuses. And we'll see what happens. Have I considered unpaid interns? Not really. No. We have done paid interns, and we do that once in a while when it makes sense. Yeah, I am the sole officer of the company. Would a government grant for R&D be helpful at all? Maybe. Like, I've thought about applying for something like that. It's just, I've done an application for that before, and it's kind of a pain, and it's kind of not worth it. Like, the amount of money that you get for like a phase 1 trial is negligible, and like a phase 2 is not that high. It's almost not enough to bother being worth it, especially when you factor in the amount of time it takes to apply. That said, I haven't looked lately. It might be something we should look at doing, honestly. The people we hire typically fans of the work. I wouldn't say super much. I think the fact that we do games that are well respected and stuff helps, but it's not like people are like fanboys and then we hire them. That I think some game companies work that way, but that's not how it has been. Have I recruited any of the people? Yes. We have one of the people working on the compiler. Am I married? I am not married. If I was going to redo the standard C-style foreign function interface setup, what would it look like? It would just be simpler. Like the C calling convention is actually kind of complicated. It's too complicated. And part of that is for reasons that seemed important a long time ago and aren't important. And then by the time you get to C++ calling convention, it's actually kind of nuts. So I would just simplify it. You applied for an R&D grant in Canada, and they're looking very eager for people to get grants. Yeah, I don't think it's the same in the US, though. The US is not... Like, Canada gives all kinds of money to game companies, for example. The USA doesn't care about game companies. I'm going to get married when I'm 239. I'll get married when I actually find someone who I can set that up with, really. It's not easy to meet someone who's high quality, especially when you're past your 20s. So, you know, someday. There was some kind of grant recently in New York. Do you mean like a New York City or state grant? Didn't Phil make fez off a grant from the government? That was part of the funding. Indie Fund also funded that a little bit, although I think somebody else might have come and bought out that fund. I don't remember exactly what happened. Indie Fund was funding it and then stopped funding it partway through. And then he got completion funding from, I think maybe partially from a publisher and partially from a grant. I really don't remember. Do I randomly feel old AF? Not super old. I feel tired sometimes because I've been working so long on these things, you know. So I get to feeling tired. Was there a raid just now? I don't know. Was there? I don't have the page up. Let's get our creator dashboard back going. Oh, we have 400 people now. That is more than we had. I don't know if that's raiders or what. Are there any decisions with my older games I wish I could go back and change? I mean, there's always things that I wish I had done better. But it doesn't mean that I still necessarily know how to do them better. And at some point, you just got to do the next thing. like, okay, so for Braid Anniversary Edition, we're doing some touch-ups that are like things that I'd wished we could have done in the original game, but they're not like big things, because if you do big things, you change the game. And the point of the Anniversary Edition, again, we don't want it to be like Star Wars Special Edition, right? So Han still shoots first in Braid Anniversary Edition. We need to have discipline on that, right? So it's like that with anything, I think. Like, I wouldn't want to go back and, change major stuff. There's definitely, there's some stuff in The Witness that I wish I had done better, that I do think we could change if we ever do an Anniversary Edition for that, which there's no plan for, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. Do I think it is possible to create an indie game with AAA level of funding? Yes, it just depends. You have to get the funding from somewhere where they are not going to use it to control what you make. And then you also have to somehow manage the logistical challenge of running a team that big without losing the indiness of the game, which itself is also kind of hard. But it is possible. Find advice on how to find the right people if you want to start delegating some of your programming. That's hard. Finding good programmers who can take something over and do it for you, it's not that easy. I don't know. Like, can I say what I'd change in The Witness? I don't want to go into specifics right now. There's just a few things. Am I still planning on doing streams recording commentary for Braid? Maybe. I mean, certainly not the majority of the commentary, but we might do some with a little bit. It could happen. Will we make another game after the compiler? Yes. Yes, we will. How's Braid coming along? Well, most of it is pretty well done. Like, we have some console porting stuff to do yet, and I have to finish the commentary. That's the number one thing that needs to get done. But fortunately, that is not really a technical challenge. It's just filling in the commentary content. Is Braid being rewritten? No, it's still the original code base with a lot of modifications, but it's still in C++, unfortunately. Would I ever consider giving away code? Maybe. It's just, there's so much source code on the internet now, and like, what does it matter to add more? Free eyes to fix bugs? That obviously hasn't worked for all the other code. Why do you think it would work for this? I'm serious. It's not a joke. I'm serious. If free eyes to fix bugs actually worked, open source software would be amazing. A lot of fans still love Doom today. I agree with that, but like Doom was very early and very canonical. And most other games are not like that. Like if I release Braid source code, it's not going to be like Doom in terms of influence and how many people use it to do stuff. It's just not a thing, right? Which C and C++ books are not bad? I don't know. The only C book I ever used was the K&R C book. C++ books are probably all going to be terrible. Do I think it is possible to design a game that will help cure mental issues like learned helplessness, etc.? Yes, but these things are subtle and you have to approach them at a subtle level. And the sort of ham-fisted ways that people go about these things, I don't think are very effective. There are things you can do, but they're much deeper. Or any of the features that I was excited about initially aren't as useful as I thought. Well, the SOA thing that I did, I took out because it wasn't that good, actually. It's sort of probably going to go in as a user level library. I think The Witness is iconic like Doom? No. I mean, The Witness was a popular game. For sure, it did well, but it's not remotely iconic like Doom. It's like Witness is intentionally much more niche, right? Do I recommend K&R book? I don't know. I read it in 1990. How am I supposed to know if it's good today? I literally read the K&RC book before most people in this chat were born. I did 2 betas in 2 days. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Not too often, but sometimes. In my will, would I consider giving all my work away to the people? I would, yeah. I would consider MIT licensing all the source code. Have I experienced any massive financial technical hurdles during a project which almost halted it? I mean, my first company, we ran out of money several times and had no good prospects. That was a long time ago, though. A long time ago. Do I know Programming C the hard way? No, I don't know that book or web page or whatever it is. What's the definitive book for undefined behavior? Both GCC and Clang, just the whole things. When I was filming for Indie Game, the movie, did the filmmakers just hang out the entire day? I think we did like 2 days. It was a really long time ago. Not really 2 full days. On one of the days, it was interview. And I think the other day it was, let's get footage of just you working in a natural environment and stuff. So They filmed me working at home and at a coffee shop and stuff. I think it was a long time ago. Will Miyagakure ever get released? I hope it does. It's a cool game. Actually, I think the way it worked was we also did interviews pretty far apart. Like, they went around and they interviewed a bunch of indie developers initially because they thought that the movie was going to be, we're doing footage with like 50 different developers to show you all of it, right? And then I think they decided while they were working on it that the more they could focus into a small number of stories and through lines, the better that would be. And so they focused on Fez and Super Meat Boy, and then I was in there for a little bit of color commentary in some way. And so when they decided that was the thing, then they came back to do a little bit more interview, I think. And so then they had all this interview footage with all these indie developers, and that went into the expanded editions or all the, there's tons and tons of bonus footage for the movie that you can get with like the special super box set or whatever. Have I ever had to work with someone I disliked? Yes. How did I navigate that situation? Not well. Do I have advice? No, I haven't really been faced with that situation in a long time. Except I definitely had people who worked on my games recently, not recently, but like within the past 10 years who I was very annoyed at or didn't like. Those situations tend to resolve themselves though. Currently, I don't really have that problem. But it's also different when you run the project versus when you're working as an employee on a project. It's just a very different scenario. What would be a good way to let unrelated people produce a single piece of software when not hired by a company and working in a single team? I don't know. What makes you think there is a good way? Would I ever work with another famous indie game developer? Not really. I mean, I have a whole game company where we do stuff. Like it's not like I just chill with my laptop in a coffee shop by myself and then a game happens. It's like we have a company with like 14 employees. So you don't just like collab with another random indie game developer under those scenarios because you're already kind of doing your own thing. Any resources to learn computer graphics programming? I don't know. Again, everything that I learned from was a long time ago and not necessarily what you would want to learn today. But maybe chat has some recommendations. What would I say to someone who refuses to play indie games? I don't know. I just don't care that much, so I don't think I would say very much. For embedded programming, packaging up a system image can involve building for multiple target architectures and then combining the resulting binaries. You assume that's something that could be done in a metaprogram. Yes, your metaprogram can do anything that any script could do or whatever. So yes, we do not currently cross-compile, but we don't even support multiple target platforms yet. So like that's, we will cross-compile at some point. Until then, I don't know. I don't know. Wow, we delivered value to the people today. Well, I keep playing Escape from Tarkov. I don't know. I kind of haven't felt like it the past few days. I could see playing some more, but, I played probably like 30 hours since the wipe or something. And the thing is, 30 hours, if I put 30 hours into the compiler or anything, that's like substantial, right? And so I have to trade that off with what do I get out of playing the game? So like maybe I play some more, maybe I wait for next wipe. More entity component system streams. We might do one for the TS12, but I don't really have that many components for it. I have maybe an SRO, but that's it. They probably wouldn't be that exciting. I don't know if it's worth doing a component stream for putting an SRO on a TS12. How do you ensure people get something out of every hour of your games? That's hard. That's the challenge of being a game designer. And it varies based on what you're making, right? Because what you're making sort of determines what you're trying to give to people. And then how depends on what, right? I'm not saying that Tarkov's not delivering on something, although I do wish the design were a little different than it is. I'm saying that what I get out of playing that game, I have to compare to what I would get out of doing other things. Right? Like, you shouldn't be comparing against zero. It's opportunity cost. When you play a video game, it's like you could be playing that game, or you could be doing something else that's good. If you go down that road too far, don't you just end up never playing another game? Well, it depends if games are very good or not. How good are video games? What's my thought about using libraries versus hand-rolling things in an educational setting when first starting out? It depends what you're trying to do. And it depends on what the libraries are and how hard it is to use them. Like a lot of modern libraries are a frickin' nightmare. So I wouldn't give them to beginners because they're so terrible. But um, if they're easy to use, then it could be helpful. Do I factor my own enjoyment and relaxation into that? Tarkov is not enjoyable or relaxing. If a developer has enough money to sustain 2 years without work and finally realizes they've been wasting their time working on non-important stuff, how do they transition to doing something important if nobody wants to hire them, work with them because of their previous engagements? I don't know. When you say because of their previous engagements, do you mean because of previous jobs or because of not being on a job for 2 years? Like if the thing is not being on a job for 2 years, what I would put on my resume is just uh, make up a company name or whatever that project was and just say, um, this was a company that I did and it didn't work out, so I'm looking for a job, right? Oh, okay. Previous jobs. Like the previous jobs are unappealing somehow? Like how? Like that's what matters. Like why would people see those jobs on the resume and not want to hire you? Like if that's the problem you're trying to work around, or your friend or whoever you're asking for, if that's the problem you're trying to work around, it really depends on what the reason is. Do I still study mindfulness to help with focus? Um, I study mindfulness a little bit, not as much as I should. Um, to help with focus is not really the reason, though. So you're using graphics APIs versus doing it all in software. Oh, for a beginner, I wouldn't necessarily have them draw everything in software unless that was what you were trying to teach them. It was web all day long for 10 years, and now only web people want to hire them. Well, if the independent project was non-web, then again, if you say, here was the name of this company that I started and didn't work out, and describe the nature of the work and the fact that it's not web work, then people will see that you are transitioning away from web and might want to hire you for non-web stuff, right? Otherwise, I mean, it's hard, right? Like, if you don't have experience doing non-web stuff, why should people hire you, right? Like, they're not wrong when they're hesitant in that direction. So it's just, but if this person has experience in the domain relevant to what the company does that they're trying to get hired at, the goal is to just try to show that however possible, whether it's independent projects, whatever. Like try to illustrate that. Like this is the general rule for anything. Just try to illustrate that you can do the job that they want to hire you for, whatever that means, right? What are my thoughts on virtual reality in regards to indie games? I kind of don't care right now. VR didn't work. Maybe it'll come back later. I think it's an interesting design space. I think most designers did not do a good job targeting that space, etc. How is it important having a degree if you're pursuing a job as a programmer? I do not know. I have not tried to search for a job in the modern market. I do not have a degree, but I also have not looked for a programming job since the year 2001. When hiring, is that something you look for? Of course. You're hiring someone to do a specific job. You want to know that they can do the job. Like, that's really, it's not actually that hard to understand, right? Ever had writer's block in terms of game development? A little bit, but it usually goes away. What I have these days is a little bit different. Is like I have all these different projects that I'm working on, and sometimes I just feel a lot more motivated naturally to work on one of them than another one. And which one that is changes around sometimes. So it's more like that. It's more like, I kind of can't really get myself to work on this one right now, but I can work on this one over here. Did I ever figure out if we could trust Harvey Dent? I did not. I did not. Well, everybody, it's been fun. I think I'm going to hang up and probably go to bed eventually. I might watch some Tony's Pizza before I go to bed. Got to support the 24-hour stream. Thanks, everybody. We'll do some more programming soon. Maybe game stuff, because we did a water stream, the start of a water stream before, and we never finished that one. So like, I feel like we should come back to that. But I wanted to finish off this grindy thing that we did as well. So that was a good value to deliver to the people today. All right. Thank you, everybody. When is the next program? We don't really have a schedule. It's just whenever. Thanks. Bye, everybody. Actually, you know what? Let's raid Landmark stream. It's not like he needs the viewers, but we'll send a few people his way in support.